We also have a big review. So let's get that out of the way first, because this is one of the big ones. Even with all the other events that have been added to the schedule, the Royal Rumble still feels like one of the big ones.
Wait, still, or it did until Saturday afternoon?
Well, I have good memories of the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, memories like the corners of my mind. Oh, that's what we've got is memories. And, I'll just make this observation. 20 years ago, during it's been a little bit more now, but during the height of the Attitude Era, what everybody still remembers as being the glory days of wrestling now, Steve Austin, The Rock, and Stone, and Foley, and Undertaker, and on and on and on. They still had, however you want to phrase it, bad booking, silly booking, sports entertainment booking, bad comedy, but whatever. There were still issues with creative, obviously. But the difference was the talent pool then all came from the wrestling business. And that was the last generation that had started in the territories. The guys on top in 1999, most of them, The Rock being a standout exception, most of them had started in the last days of the territories. And there was still an element, even if they hadn't, they were being broken in by, worked with the guys that did come from the territories who had a different way of mentally approaching, facially approaching, physically approaching, wrestling, fighting, the way, whether they were mad at someone or not, if they had an angle or an issue going on with somebody. And that's where you see, because we can't neglect the fact that, that time period we saw Triple H doing the necrophilia deal, and Mark Henry's got a transvestite in the locker room, or whatever's going on with the entertainment portion of the program that Shitstain was highly behind. And then Stephanie's comedy writer minions followed along in that vein. There were always goofy things going on, but the guys, you see the clips, Austin and McMahon, Angle and Taker, and all those guys, when they were having doing an angle, having a fight, doing a pull apart, a run in, not only were the people in the fucking stands screaming and waving and throwing the babies in the air, but the guys doing whatever they were doing, for the most part, looked like they were trying to fucking kill each other. Or there was chaos going on. Think back to the scene in the ring with Austin and Tyson. It looked like an HBO boxing aftermath thing that had gotten out of hand. There was legitimate looking chaos and energy and aggression and violence, and guys with the testosterone flowing over the top, and people lunging at each other's goozle pipes.
And that was just in the crowd.
Yeah. No, that was in the 80s in Tulsa in the crowd. But that's the point, is you look back at all that footage and you go, these guys are going after each other, and they're fucking, and it's chaos, and people are yelling and screaming. And that's why, because what they were seeing looked like it was chaotic. And you're missing that feeling here. The talent then could overcome silly booking when they were able to go out and do what they did, which was fight and or wrestle and or shoot angles where they were supposed to be mad at people. That's if you didn't have that down in the wrestling business, you weren't on top until previous 10 or 20 years. The atmosphere that they've created now in the WWE, the fans sit there, even for good matches, which they see every once in a while. They sit there and they'll pop on a big spot that looks like it broke somebody in half, but they're not. And they'll pop on surprises. They'll pop on the pop spots, but they're not in any way It doesn't seem like they're involved or invested in the match itself and who's going to win and how it's progressing. It's just, oh, okay, show me some more highlights of the car wreck. And the guys, this generation not only didn't come from the territories and didn't have a background in wrestling, but they didn't even come from OVW hardly anymore. The last, they've got their developmental program, but they're teaching, as we've mentioned, actors and entertainers and performers. They're not teaching the wrestling business. So these guys, it's not that they're not trying hard and working hard, and it's not that they're not even better athletes, all things considered, than the guys in the territories. They can run faster, probably jump higher, they're lower body fat. But nobody looks like they just want to fucking kill somebody anymore. The angles aren't chaotic and violent. The matches are, it's not what they're doing, it's how they're doing it. They don't come off and give you the vibe of this being a fight to the death for some reason, if it's a grudge match, and or the opposite side, as we talked about with Cody and Sammy Guevara, a babyface match where they were fighting in the arena and trying to kill each other like it was a blood feud. These guys just go out and perform the moves, whether they're against a babyface or a heel. It doesn't. It's a performance. They don't have any more vehemence toward the heel that they're supposed to hate than they have sympathy for the babyface that's supposed to be their friend, even if they do have to eliminate. They just do the same shit to everybody over and over. And the point is the chaos is not there, and the realism of the guys believing it is not there. Whether you knew what wrestling was or not, whether it be the Attitude Era or the Territory Era, you didn't often, and Brian, this is a question I'll ask you, tell me if I'm crazy or not, you didn't often see the talent, the wrestlers, especially the main event guys, look like they didn't mean what they were doing, even if you knew the business was a work.
I'd say that's true.
And I don't know, but it's the atmosphere the WWE has created. Like I said, the guys are working hard. They're taking more risks and hurting each other more than probably ever before, because they have to, because nobody believes anything. But the atmosphere that this publicly traded wannabe theme park company that wants to put smiles on people's faces and provide entertainment, the atmosphere they've created is that all these guys are taking bumps for mostly no reason, because people are not really into the matches, because they all know it's bullshit and they just want to see what they're going to be surprised by next, or watch some old lady get mowed down by a rainbow bread truck when she's crossing the street. And they know that the guys are not being allowed to say what they want to say, do what they want to do, or even call themselves what they want to call themselves. And on top of that, the guys now and girls, the talent in this current roster and regime have, for the most part, been taught that this is the way that you're supposed to be doing this shit. So they don't even know there's anything wrong with it. Is that a fair assessment of the WWE atmosphere right now, in your opinion?
Based on what I've seen, which is limited, yes.
I mean, based on observing the product, the matches, the shows, the way that everybody's going about what they're going about, that's what you would think.